just want to talk a tiny wee bit about the action of the guitar. Now, for anybody who's unsure what the action actually is, the action is the term used to describe how high the string is off the fret or off the neck. It's how far you have to push down the string, and it's important, so it is. You know, if you have to push the string down too far, then that's too much work to be done, and that really can hamper how quickly you can play and how comfortable chords are to hold down. Especially further up the neck you go, it becomes an issue more so than down the bottom. Now, there are times whenever a high action is the best thing. If you're somebody who's interested in playing slide guitar, a high action is very important. If you only really play down around the bottom of the neck, then a high action or a higher action is pretty good too. But you will be hampered then whenever you come to play up around the top of the neck, because if you've got a high action, the strings are always going to be at their highest at this point of the neck, at the bottom of the neck, and because of the way that the guitar is laid out, they're still going to be brave and close down around the bottom of the neck. Now, the pros and cons really of the action height when it comes to sound is, if the strings are too low down, you get a lot of buzzing, and I can give you an example of that. If you remember earlier on, we were talking about this guitar's neck had a lot of wear down around these frets, and it's basically because whoever has owned this guitar has mainly spent their time playing chords, and mainly the D chord, the A minor chord, the C chord, chords like that there. And if I was to say play the D chord, just normal, not bending it, I'm not doing anything funny here. I'm actually going to strum it here in the middle of the neck, because this will cause the most problem. You can hear a lot of bad sound there, and that's to do with the action being too low. Well, it's not even that the action's too low, it's just too low for this guitar, but this action height would be pretty good on most newer guitars that don't have the wear problem that this guitar has. But you know, there's an easy fix for this. I can raise this side of the action up a wee tiny bit, and it really won't take much. And I'm exaggerating that noise because I'm playing up here where it really it makes the strings it gives the strings a tendency to rattle when it's up there. It gives, once you strum here, it really gives the strings a tendency to hit the frets. But if I was to strum the same chord down here, it's not quite as bad. It's still there though, but that couple of frets there is brave and badly worn out. And I'll see if I've got the same kind of fret wire here now. If I do, I'll replace those first couple of frets and the rest of them. There's not much meat left in these frets to dress them. You can dress the frets, and that will help as well. But I don't think this guitar really warrants me going overboard and having the owner spend an awful lot of money on it. He just wants it playable, and there's other ways of making it playable. Okay, so back to the action anyway. Now, if the action is high, it always makes the guitar sound better. It allows the guitar to be much more easily controlled sound-wise. You know, you can get more aggressive with the strings, and they'll still sound pretty good. But it does make it harder to play the guitar, especially the further up the neck you go. With a low action, a low action is usually preferred by people who want to play solo music, real fast solo music, or very tricky music to play. You know, a lot of notes happen at once, and a low action is really the job for that, because the strings are closer to the frets and you have less distance to push them down, and all those wee things add up. Like if you can shave a millisecond off how quickly you can push the string down against the fret by reducing the distance that it has to move, then that's going to help. And it probably doesn't sound like it could really make that much of a difference, but it makes a lot of a difference, and you will notice it. if you do experiment, and I definitely suggest experimenting. Take a guitar, an old guitar you have lying about, everybody's got an old guitar lying about, raise the strings away up, use it with a slide, play chords on it, put the distortion away up loud, play very, very aggressively on the strings, and you'll see it's very hard to make it sound bad. As long as you're fretting the chords cleanly, you could hit the guitar with a hammer, it'll still sound alright. Then try to do the same thing with the action down really, really low, coming close to the buzzy point. This is the buzzy point that we're on now, so we're going to raise it from there. And that's a general kind of rule with most guitar players or luthiers or whatever. Lower your action down until you get to the buzzy point, and then slowly work it back up. If you're only buzzy on one side, then just work the other side, work the side that's buzzy. And if you're really like this, you know, if this side is much too high compared to the other side, then you're going to have to look into other ways of fixing it. But experiment with the action and see what suits you. If you're starting out and you're trying to learn to play a lot more complicated solo music, I definitely suggest lowering your action down, let your sound suffer a wee bit. You will become used to it, and you will learn ways of making the guitar sound okay under those sort of conditions. And then as you become faster and better and more skilled, slowly raise the action up very slightly, just a couple of thou at a time, and you won't even notice it, but after a while you'll have your guitar at a kind of height that sounds really, really well, and you can still pull off all your tricks. Well, I don't really think there's anything more we can talk about when it comes to the action than we've already covered. Just sort of look out for buzzy noises, and any kind of buzzy noise that comes out of your guitar is usually a sign that your action is either too low or your frets are worn out. Just try raising up your action a wee bit to kind of help with the sound. And I'm just going to go ahead right now, and I'm just going to so I just loosened that there down just enough so I can get this screwdriver in onto. I didn't raise it that much, just a tiny bit. This may not be enough to make a difference. But that's that D chord again being played, and that's it. Whenever I play the guitar, I've raised up this side of the guitar. Sorry, I'm trying to get it in all in the shot here. Okay, right, if I hold it like this will do the job. Now, what I did there was I just raised this side of the bridge. So effectively what I done was all the strings are still straight. I just raised the whole of one side, and it still leaves me where I'm nice and comfortable at a comfortable playing height. I would usually come up around here. And there's a few songs that I would use as sort of testers, like that one there. Other songs further down the neck, but I already know that this part of the neck's doing okay. And I would do me test like that all over the neck. Certain songs for certain areas of the neck to test it, to see what way we're going to be going. Then when it comes to doing the intonation, I would usually do the Joe Satriani song. and that really tests if your guitar is going to work okay, because whenever you're playing these parts here, that's when it stands out that it's not right. But this guitar sounds pretty good. What's that? Okay, so that's, yeah, well, oh, alright, well, this pickup needs to be moved down a wee bit. That's what's wrong with that. It's too close, and it's picking up way too much electrical interference on the string, so that pickup needs to be moved down, because that's what it should sound like when it's hit like that.